So
That's it.
I was before ending it. Just came in now. Putin just made comments on the sanctions. The US sanctioned the two largest Russian oil companies, and we also got reports, and that comes about a few weeks after India apparently agreed with the US to halt 50% of their oil imports from Russia. And there's also been reports, I showed it to you before we started this interview, Reuters exclusive, China state oil majors suspend Russian oil buys due to sanctions, according to sources, which you've got doubts about, which I'll let you talk about. But then Putin just put out a statement now. New US sanctions are an attempt to put pressure on Russia. No self-respecting country ever does anything under pressure. This will cost the EU dearly. The cancelled Budapest summit was proposed by the American side, not the Russian side. Dialogue is always better than confrontation, disputes, or continuing the war. The new US sanctions are a hostile act that does not strengthen Russian-American relations. That came in from Putin. What are your thoughts on the sanctions and also Putin's response just now?
I mean, it's an accurate response. The Russians, they want this war to end so that they can bring stability in the region, and then they want to have better relations with the United States. They believe that, the U.S. and Russia can do things together that improve both nations. But it can't happen with this Ukraine conflict, going on down here. I think Putin's disappointed. But the other thing people have to understand is India is part of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. India is part of the BRICS. Modi has visited Putin, and Xi Jinping and Putin have a famously good relationship. They're also SCO and BRICS members. They all recognize that America is a unilateral hegemony that seeks to impose itself on people, through threats of military threats, economic threats, etc. And they agree that this isn't normal, this isn't good, this isn't desirable. Modi has said that while he wants the conflict to end, and of course he has to play a delicate balance between the United States and Russia, he's a sovereign state. He said that India's energy requirements will be dictated by India alone, and nobody will tell India what to do. And all the early reports about how India was dumping oil, and yet September, India bought more Russian oil than ever before after Trump put down his law. So now I'm looking at China.
I think the cuts are meant to start in January. I think the cuts are meant to start in December, January. By the way, as you talk about China, Putin just said as well, which goes to your point, the possible supplying of Tomahawk missiles to Kiev is an attempt at escalation. Russia's response in the case of Tomahawk strikes on Russian territory will be serious, if not staggering. And then he says Russia's energy sector feels confident, although certain losses will occur over the new sanctions.
Yeah, Russia's realistic. I mean, it always cracks me up. Do you remember John McCain's statement? Russia is,
the oil
nation with a large
station.
gas station or something like that.
Yeah.
Gosh, if you're a large gas station, do you think you might actually understand a thing or two about the energy business? I mean, if that's all you are, maybe you understand the energy business. Maybe you know it better than the guy who simply puts the gas into his car. Russia knows the global energy business better than anybody. Ask the Saudis. Every time the Saudis tried to play games with global pricing, Russia crushed them. Russia's not. These aren't amateurs here. These are hardcore professionals who know the industry better than anybody, know how to make it work for their benefit. Putin said it right. There will be losses. Of course, there will be losses. You have an ideal way of the system working. It's not working ideally. There's going to be consequences, losses. Russia will tighten its belt. But this isn't taking the Russians by surprise. The Russians have been preparing for this. They have plan A, plan B, C, D, E, F, G. They can go all the way down the alphabet and further. They're ready for whatever comes. They've thought everything through. There is no surprise here. The surprise is on the part of the United States, who has no clue how this is going to resonate. A lot of guesswork. But I will tell you right now, you know who else has plans? China. They're not going to allow their economy to be interrupted by these American sanctions. And if you think for a second China will cave in on sanctioning of Russia, because all that does is send the signal to the United States that sanctions against China will work as well. And I think the Chinese are going to stand up and be side by side with the Russians. They're the largest importer of Russian energy. They will continue to be. India will continue to buy Russian energy. the companies, these are private companies, and they have to assess where they're going. But strategically, both India and China will continue to stand by Russia because they understand they're before the grace of God go us. If they allow the United States and Europe to break Russia through sanctions, and Russia will never allow that to happen to begin with. But
the Indian cuts and the Chinese cuts, if they do go ahead, there's reports of Chinese cuts that would hit Russian revenue in the short term by 20-25%, and that would hit in the long term. It will go down to 10 to 15%. It'll be mitigated to 10 to 15%. Not sure if you can see me or the video's cut out for you.
I'm here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
The video will be fixed now. The team is fixing it.
There we go.
But yeah, so the cuts will be initially 50% and will go down to 10 to 15%, as you said. Sorry. The exports will be cut by 40 to 50%. Revenue will be down 20 to 25%, oil revenues. So as Putin said, it will be, that was just according to reports. It's unconfirmed. Putin did say there'll be certain losses will occur over the new sanctions. But people are saying these losses will be harsher short term, but long term, Russia could find new ways to supply that oil to other buyers. There's also worries that the trade deal between China and the US could include some sort of deal when it comes to, similar to what they had with India, some deal that comes to Russia as well. But you think you're pretty skeptical of that. I think you believe that China will stick by Russia's side throughout this.
Of course they will.
Scott, yeah, as always, absolute pleasure. And I'm glad we've been able to cover Putin's comments live during this. Appreciate you for doing it longer. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot. Have a good day.